Hello, welcome back to From Soft Serve. I successfully found another excuse to talk about Demon Souls, uh, which I'm pretty much always going to do because I love it and I think it's underrated and I don't think enough people play it. The original one, but also the remake. Play the remake. The remake's cool. Now please light up my comments with the remake sucks. I think both are cool, but the OG is definitely worth playing, even if you've played the remake. But basically, I'm still working on my visual overhaul for DES. It's just sort of in the background, and I kind of log in for a while. But today, I kind of wanted to focus more on kind of like one of the biggest tools for doing that. Is one of my favorite things about Demon Souls is that you can install the debug menu. And that's thanks to Then's DES, who's basically the most famous, I think, Demon Souls modder ever, and continues to be, and has been super helpful. And I'll link the tutorial that they made about installing the debug menu, because it's actually pretty easy. And the debug menu is so cool, and it's very similar to like the DS1 debug menu, and they share a lot of similarities, but the difference here is that the one for Dark Souls 1 Remastered, you can get that one working, but it doesn't actually have like live parameter editing. And of course you might be asking yourself, well, why would you want to do that? Well, the reason is pretty straightforward. You open up the debug menu with I think it's the select button, whatever the weird window button is on the Xbox controller. And you have this giant menu of, there's just so many things in here, and you can sort of see like memory management and just some really weird stuff that smarter people than me can certainly use. But as a DS1 modder specifically, this is all very helpful because they function in the same way, that they have a tone map, tone correct, shadow, lens flare, depth of field, point light, light scattering, light bank, fog bank, yada yada yada. And basically with these, you can alter the coloring of the game and how it's lighting and bloom. And so basically what you're seeing here is my work in progress on Boletario, which the first thing you'll probably notice too is that it's a lot less green. I have toned that down, which I know is obviously a controversial change. And I can answer for anyone out there asking, oh, are you going to make two separate versions, one that's like authentic and one that's not? No, I'm not going to do that, because I honestly think the base game is good enough on its own. So just play that without any mods, and well, there's your faithful version, So I don't feel like I have to do that. And so basically it's less green, it's a little bit less clear. I think there's a little bit more texture detail because of the shading. And so there's been just a lot of granular little changes. Let me kill these jabronis real quick. I do like the debug menu because you have like a shit ton of health and you one-shot most enemies, so it's pretty nice. And this is a debug menu that is actually like built into how they develop the game, so it's not like this debug menu is just made up by modders. It was actually a FromSoft thing. They just worked to actually get it like re-enabled. One of the things you'll notice about Demon Souls, and I say this all the time, I think the material quality is super high. Like this fluted armor looks fucking awesome, and I think even the material shading and how it's handling like the cube map and how it's handling this metallic material is just, it's top notch. It's so fucking good. One of the big features of my mod is adding in dynamic shadows like this on this map piece, where you walk over and it covers your character a little bit, and then as you walk out, and the shadows are pretty low resolution. I haven't figured out how to up those. I would imagine I can't, as Demon Souls is very finicky about its like memory limits. And once you go over it, it just freaks the fuck out and just won't load a map, basically. But you'll see like dynamic shadows here. I think my lighting changes have made the shadows less apparent. Like you can see they're still here, but I think the difference between them is not massive. So I will look into that. But It's really kind of a cool thing. Like if you ever just want to change the color of something, you just need to go mostly to the tone correct if you want to do high level color adjustment and not get into like granular shit. And you do need to know which ID the map uses. So this is where having a DS Map Studio project open at the same time is very helpful, because you can basically go, oh, okay, let me go fly in DS Map Studio. What ID is it using for this here? Oh, it's using 0. And you go, oh, okay, cool, got it. And so you want to make it more red. You lower the contrast. Now, of course, it's in Japanese, but in DS Map Studio they have it converted. So here it's the contrast. And then this is the brightness of the different channels. And so that's where you can like brighten the red channel. And you have a lot of different little knobs that you can tweak if you just want to very quickly turn something a little bit more blue, or you want to make it more green or more red. And so I kind of have it at a default. It's almost like a neutral, because they're all at the same brightness. The contrast is all the same. And I, for now, am kind of okay with that. Oh, also, this down here is a saturation slider. And so it will basically saturate. It'll turn up the saturation on whatever your other colors are. And actually, now that I'm noticing, the saturation slider is ooh, that does look better. And anytime you want to exit out, you just hit the select button twice. Yeah, you can now tell the saturation is higher. And so the greens are greener, the blues are bluer. And, that's just how saturation works. And I actually think that adds a really nice contrasty look, where I think Demon Souls had the habit sometimes of being monochromatic, of whatever color they were going for. Like Bulletaria, they went like hard on the green, and that was obviously their intent, but I do feel like it definitely missed out on, I don't know, shining a little bit more light on their fantastic art. If you can basically allow the models to breathe and the textures. And so that's where my sort of neutral lighting change, I think, allows them to stand out a bit more. Not saying that my change is better than what FromSoft did. Of course not. Absolutely not. I just think, personally, I like it. But I definitely prefer if people play the original unmodded version first. I think that is pretty much it. That's a recommendation I'll give to fucking everybody. It's so good. Also, can we talk about the Demon Souls fog walls? I think I'll actually make a separate video about this, because it fascinates me that they had these sick ass fog walls in Demon Souls, and then when Dark Souls rolled around, they just became really ugly. Like, they're just ugly. They just in no way look particularly good. They look super fucking flat and just gray. And it's always been really strange to me why they would do that. But anyway, we're not going to spend too much more time in Bulletaria. I actually want to, like, the cool thing about the debug menu is you can literally just quit out, and it'll go, oh hey, what map do you want to go to? And I'll go, thanks homie, I want to go to 3-1 Shrine of Storms. Port me over there, dog. And then 5 seconds later, you're in the map. So I've been making adjustments to Shrine of Storms as well, and I think I'm maybe most happy with kind of where this is at. The shadows, I think, are really distinct. I've added dynamic shadows to obviously the map pieces, removed baked lighting only in very specific cases, as it needs a light touch. There's bloom and depth of field, and I think, honestly, like, Shrine of Storms really holds up well. Like, I think this looks insane, even in 2023. Like, yeah, the texture quality isn't, amazing in every scenario, but I think this fucking holds up. Like, I am blown away by how good this game can still look. And I think specifically I do it in the context of how does it look versus its successors, DS1 and DS2. I think it actually, in many cases, Demon Souls looks better. In terms of asset quality, material handling, I think it just looks absolutely nuts, man. And, perhaps it's all because they're in a similar era. Oh no! And they sort of are. I mean, DS2 had its own engine technology, but specifically when you compare it to DS1, I think Demon Souls holds up better Maybe because I think my sort of theory is that in some cases it has a more neutral fantasy medieval aesthetic, where Dark Souls very much went for a certain style. And obviously, as that ages, I think Demon Souls has actually aged better, because this scene right here, I think, just has a wonderful sort of atmospheric look, and the shadows and the material handling on the armor, and I mean, just and the wind and the like. Come on, this is just, it's so good. I know this is just going to be a video of me gushing about Demon Souls, but I also am more than okay with that. I think this is a game that, if my life's goal was to just get more people to play this and play the original version, because I think it makes sense to play the remake and the original version. Oh, I also loved how I had to manually go in these little pillars, or not pillars, little pikes here with the flag. I actually had to specifically select them and turn on the dynamic shadowing, but I think it actually turned out really well. I've been surprised by how resilient Demon Souls is with the dynamic shadows. It honestly it seemed more than happy to enable them. Mostly it was down to figuring out the shadow bank settings, but that I learned from Dark Souls 1. That's what I love about Dark Souls modding. The reason why, if anyone wonders specifically why I go between different games and work on a lot of projects at once, to varying degrees, I guess the first reason is because I fucking want to, so that's A. B, it actually gives me inspiration for going back to other games, because there are, in all of these games, some of them do some things better than others. They have different strengths, different artistic qualities, and I've actually learned different things from modding each one of them. And I've been able to bring that back, and it's enhanced every single project I've worked on. So there's an actual material benefit to me doing that, and not just being like ADHD, which certainly my brain does like to stay busy. And I think it's just a generally good idea not to get stuck in one mod project for too long, because and this is perhaps how my brain works, I tend to lose context on, like, okay, what have I been changing and what is it in the original? And I have a Prepare to Die project to look at for that when I'm working on the remastered mod, but even still it can be hard to be like, okay, well, wait, how is this in the original but that was remastered versus Prepare to Die? And I don't know, so basically just working on these different projects, I think it really makes me appreciate all of them even more, instead of, I don't find myself going, oh my god, I now, only love one more than the other. My appreciation has only grown for each of the games, the more that I work on them, honestly. And man, I will say this map is not great to mod on, because you're always getting shot by those fucking jabronis. Alright, there you go. Yeah, give me that fucking shield. But yeah, there's the tone correct, there's depth of field you can sort of crank up. The point light is how I actually managed the lantern, which I think I might have. Oh, I don't have DS Map Studio open. Well, I will in just a hot minute, because let's open up a Demon Souls project, because it's super helpful to know which light ID that you need to edit. So let's go to recent projects. I will say DS Map Studio has been doing this really weird thing lately, where it doesn't list all of my recent projects, and this time now it's actually... Oh, okay. No such host is known. Oh, that's because my internet went out. Oh, well, there you go. Duly noted. Let's open up Demon Souls project. Let's open up Shrine of Storms 1. Okay, we go up on the water here. The other thing about modding Demon Souls that sort of gives me life is that the maps are completely separate, and they're discrete. It's honestly, coming from DS1, it's a vacation, because DS1, I'm going I was for a while there going hollow connecting them, and I still have issues with overlapping map pieces, and it's one big Rubik's Cube, right? And Demon Souls, it's just so nice that literally this map is just, it's just that. It's the Shrine of Storms, that's it. There is no need to connect them. It's great. I fucking love it. It's got to be my favorite thing, I think, about Demon Souls. So if we actually like view the collision, because the player lantern is handled in the collisions as it is in DS1. And you can see here in this collision we're using a lantern ID of 10. And basically what that corresponds to is in the Periams, that is the point light bank. So you go into the M3 for Shrine of Storms, point light bank, and you'll see then we have the number 10, but we can also do it in the game, which is key. You basically can change your stuff in the debug menu. There's a option to save your Periam edits while you're using the debug menu, but that has not been working. And from what Zenz was saying, it doesn't really work. But it's fine, because you can basically have DS Map Studio up on one monitor, make the changes, like the changes, boom, change them in DS Map Studio right away. So for me, it's been pretty seamless. But if you go to the point light bank, and you go to then number 10, you can now, you can see I can crank up the player lantern live. And I basically reduced it from like, I think it was around 5. And basically this is the dwindle begin and the dwindle end. And that's actually how you increase the distance on it, which I sort of figured out because I was like, well, that doesn't really make, like from hearing dwindle, that didn't strike me as that, but that is actually what you do. And you can set the color for it, and then like the actual overall slider for the percentage, and you can even crank it above 100%. And I think this is actually like the, I don't know, you can't change this. But yeah, I basically had reduced it to like 0.7. And my reason for doing that is that I will never 100% disable it, because as you'll notice, and I say this in every Demon Souls video, Demon Souls had the brilliant idea of having a crystal on your belt be the thing that's illuminating. And for some reason in the prior, or in the subsequent games, they got rid of that, and it's just unexplained, and you just shine, right? And I've always found that kind of sad, because I think there should be the crystal. I think that's a really cool explanation, and it's actually like on your belt. And so that's why I'll never get rid of it fully in Demon Souls, because I just don't think that would make any sense. And so, you know, not to say I would be against anyone doing it. I think that's fine. Go for it. As I've said, you know, if you want to make a mod that does basically anything, people don't have to download it. But for me personally, I go, you know what, I'm going to maintain that. And then when you go indoors, which I can admit is pretty hard to fucking find. I think it's also because the sun is coming in my room, and so my monitor gets real bad. And so basically, when you step on the collision for down here, it changes over to a lantern ID of 11. And so you can basically go in and be like, okay, what is 11? So 11, I change that down, and you can actually tweak the lantern down to nothing. Oh man, I think I almost got shot. And I have been tweaking even the interior lantern settings, because I think they had them cranked up a little too high, personally. I think they should be higher for the indoors area, so you can still traverse them. There we go. Thought you were smooth, game. Alright, Michael Saki. Oh, also, I do like how Demon Souls does illusionary walls, in that they... I wonder if it was in playtesting that they were like, we need it to sort of have an effect on it that makes it more obvious. But from a distance, it may not be obvious. Because obviously in Dark Souls, they don't really tell you at all, right? You just sort of like think that it might be there and hit a wall. But I'm very curious what the story would be behind that. But yeah, so I am modifying the player lantern to sort of change it up, make it a little bit less bright, because Demon Souls used it pretty hard compared to any of the other games. And then I changed out this, I tried to make the things reflect in this water, but it didn't really work that well. It's just displaying the bars underneath the water. But I think Demon Souls had really good looking water by default. And so yeah, that's just some random fucking musings about Demon Souls and how the debug menu is basically allowing me to... it's so dark I can't fucking see. I think I'll have to change the collision for whatever the fuck this area is, because I can't see shit. Yeah, I think my collision isn't correct for here, because I can't see. Oh, okay, I think we're getting... Oh yeah, one of the cooler things in Demon Souls is that little ledge, get up on ledges. That's another thing where I'd love to know the internal like deliberations on why they did away with that in Dark Souls. Like, I honestly thought that was really cool. I do find it funny. It's one of the changes the remake made that is actually just a really good change, in that in the tutorial area, they actually crafted a little thing where you have to go over a ledge. Because in the OG game, like, they just don't tell you about it. They just don't. As far as I can tell, they just don't fucking tell you about it. And so there's so many people I watch that play even the remake, and they still go, God, what am I supposed to do here? And it's just not telegraphed well. And maybe that's why they got rid of it. They couldn't find a good way to like telegraph, hey, get up on fucking ledges. But I think when they removed that for Dark Souls 1 and beyond, in that I think it sort of reduced the verticality in levels, because you no longer could sort of do that little ledge hop thing. And I would like to, I'm sure you could port that to DS1 somehow, because they obviously share most of their DNA, right? They also, this is something that I think it was Meowritus or King Boar. It was one of them. I got them mixed up because they're both like fucking Dark Souls legends, so, or Souls modding legends specifically. They shared that in Demon Souls there was actually originally a ledge grabbing mechanic. Like, it's still in the game files, and so it's sort of like fucking Uncharted, and you would like shimmy along a ledge, and they showed off that animation. It's so cool. There's so many like cut and hidden things in the Souls games. Like the fact that we're still like, discovering new shit over, what is it, 12, 13 years later from Dark Souls 1, but Demon Souls, you know, from 2009, we're still learning new shit. And it's sort of crazy. Oh no! Oh shit! Oh, that's the perfect place to end it. Yeah, if you enjoyed this rambling about Demon Souls and why it's cool and various mechanics between the different games, and which I've sort of really loved working on all the different games, because you can see their process and what improved and what changed, and I think that's endlessly fascinating for me. And if you guys find that fascinating too, well then cool beans. You've come to the right channel. But the debug menu gives me life. I love it, and it's made modifying Demon Souls just a real treat for me, because I can just modify. Oh, that's really weird. It was something that was a physics object for a lot longer than I thought it would be. But it's made Demon Souls just like a nice little vacation project, because everything is separated, and I don't need to worry about it crashing into a different level, and I can just modify the lighting settings as I want. And then I'm good. It's just like a really nice simple project, and it feels like coming home, you know? And I think I like doing videos for Demon Souls because I want more people to play it. I think it's underrated, and I think it does get forgotten in discussions a lot, you know, where Dark Souls 1 took the thunder a lot, but I think we should honor Demon Souls more than we do, honestly. I think it's the granddaddy, and it does so much right, and so much of it is still present in the current FromSoft games we're playing. So please take this excuse to play it using RPCS3 on PC. It's great. It's wonderful. DM me on Discord if you ever have questions about setting that up. It's not that hard. It's super easy. And yeah, thanks for watching. Praise the sun, but because this is a Demon Souls video, Umbasa.